Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another Indie Comics Talk. Tonight, I have the incredible writer and artist Jason Copland joining me to talk about his campaign that is currently going on over on Zoop, which is a different crowdfunding platform than we normally talk about with Kickstarter. And this campaign is awesome and doing so well right now. Jason, welcome in. I'm excited to talk about Full Tilt tonight and everything going on with your comic creating.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah. So first time I have guests on the channel, usually I like to let you do a little bit of about yourself, your comic origin story. You've been creating comics in one way or another for many years and have been, published by Marvel, IDW, Image, Boom, lots of different publishers. So what got you into reading and just being interested in comics and then moving over to the creation side?
Well, I was always was reading comics as a kid, off the turnstile at the corner store. You kind of tell I'm a little bit older. I got the gray going on here, so I've been around a while. It was, but it was more of just something to do with your 70 or 25 cents. You could buy a couple comics and read. I didn't get really interested until about into high school. I was still sort of reading them, and then I discovered Frank Miller's Ronin at a kind of it was a comic book store, but it was kind of a used bookstore / comic book store.
Okay.
And they had some of the comics just kind of sitting there, just not displayed very well, just kind of strewn about. And I was like, started flipping through them. And they were really cool because they were oversized. Like they had more pages than a regular comic. There was no ads in it. The colors were fantastic and the art was fantastic. And I was like, well, what are these? And he was like, oh, that's Frank Miller's new thing. And he didn't seem very excited about it.
Yeah, it's just Frank Miller's thing.
Yeah, I was just like, it's got samurais and stuff. I was like, oh, samurais, what? And so so I grabbed them. I grabbed all 6. They were already out at that point, and I grabbed all 6. And man, I was hooked. And so that was pretty much it. Once I started reading that, and I realized that comics are more than Pow and Biff, and you can do amazing things with them. You can way you can do mess with the pacing and just layouts and all that sort of stuff. So that was pretty much it. So I was fairly young when I decided that that's something that I wanted to do. So, and then fast forward going to art school and having all of the fine art people shit on comics and say how bad, what a low art form and what a waste of your time. And you should be doing fine art drawing and fine art painting and blah, blah, blah. And so, being fairly young and impressionable, they kind of wrung comics out of me. And it wasn't until about 10 years after art school that I actually decided that I wanted to start doing it again. So that would put me roughly around 95, 96 when I was like starting to think, maybe I should go back and look at comics and see what's going on. And then I took it more seriously once about 2000. That's when I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I was kind of all in at that point.
So in art school, did you have some level of like comic training, or because everyone was saying, don't do it, you kind of moved away from the training side of all of that?
Well, the art school, the art school that I went to they had an illustration. I was in the fine arts. I was in like studio stuff. And so that's painting and drawing and sculpture, that sort of thing. There was an illustration wing. It was on the other side of the school. It was sort of us versus them. It was a very confrontational. The people didn't really mix. You go down in the same cafeteria and you didn't hang out with the illustrators. Yeah, it was kind of weird. So my schooling while I was going there was they weren't into figurative work at all. It was a lot of intellectual, conceptual sort of stuff. And yeah, so yeah, there was never really any support for that at all. And then I quit that school, and then I went and did some more schooling here in Vancouver at Emily Carr, and that's when I actually there was one teacher there. I actually talked about her on Twitter the other day. Carol Mazevich. She'd actually done some work in Raw with Spiegelman. So she had the chops, and she's a fantastic artist. And she was always like, comics are real. Like, forget what these other instructors are saying. Like, art, comics are an art form that 100% validity. And that was sort of the moment where I was like, oh, okay, I can kind of examine this and kind of go back to it. So hats off to Carol Mazevich. She's awesome.
It's good to have someone like that in your life that just is able to bring you back to what you wanted to do and what your dream was from the beginning.
Yeah. It's hard to say whether I would be drawing comics if it wasn't for Carol. Yeah.
Well, I think everyone who's probably come across your work is very happy for her then.
Well, maybe.
Hopefully that's the case. But right now, your newest creation is Full Tilt, and this is funding over on Zoop. So what is Full Tilt about? I know we've got a little bit of a hint of an inspiration sitting behind you, hanging up on the door. But what is Full Tilt about?
Well, Full Tilt is really about. Well, it's a tough one. I'm a horrible salesman when it comes to this stuff. I say this every single time. The short of it is that Full Tilt is a gritty and violent tale that's set in the 23rd century, and the main character is a conciliary of a crime family, and so he has to face the consequences of a choice that he made between love and loyalty earlier in his life. And so an event happens, and it kind of sets off in motion this sort of frantic search for who's responsible for the deaths of the heads of these families. He gets blamed for it, and so there's a little bit of a mystery to it, but it's more about just the action, the kind of the stuff that I put him through to get to the end and kind of find out exactly what is going on. So it's a little bit of a mystery. It's definitely an action story. It's a future noir. It's like Godfather meets the Warriors set in the Blade Runner setting. So it touches all of the things that I really enjoy about most media. Those are the sort of places that I live.
One of the quotes that stood out to me was from Phil Hester, and he had said that you managed to coalesce the scale of manga, the raw power of American comics, and the almost indulgent world building of I can't say that. I don't know what that's Bande Dessiné. I mean, the main point for me though is you see over here, there's some manga on the shelves over here. So besides comics, I read a lot of manga, and the action and all of that is always, I feel like, just so much more well done than a lot of our comics that we haven't, the Western side of things. So seeing all that kind of put together, and you see that on the previous pages. The style of the action, the level of what's going on in all of this. Plus, I love good world building, and that's what draws me to indie comics. Usually, is there's a whole new world to explore, and if it's a well-built world, there's so much fun just in learning about it, and besides just seeing what's happening in the action.
Right.
So just all of that, it was one of those like standout things that I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely going to be a good one to look at. And then J.H. Williams on here, Echoland was phenomenal. So yeah, you have some really good people that got to, take a look at this and bring out some quotes, which are
Yeah.
all really good quotes.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'll put it that way. I'm very lucky to have such amazing people say such nice things about my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things you sent me was the 22 page
Yeah.
spread,
Yeah.
which let's talk about that for a second
Okay.
because we're used to, okay, we got the 2 page spread, or maybe we got a splash page. You
Yeah.
said, hold on, hold my beer. 22 pages consecutive of action, and it's essentially one single panel going on for 22 pages in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
It's one scene that is
let me
cut into
let's see,
11 2 pages, but each 2 pager, when it ends, it connects to the beginning of the next 2 pages. So there are panels within each of the different 2 pagers, but
yeah.
it does combine to create one continuous 22 page spread if one was to put all the pages together. Now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I was hoping that we would be able to make a poster of it, either as a stretch goal or even just, yeah. But it's way too
14
expensive.
foot
So
long.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
how Zoop's like, if you're crazy, we can do it.
I'm getting one.
Yeah.
I'm going to be getting one, but it's something that is like pretty much undisplayable. Like you would need 14
I
consecutive feet unbroken. Like
I
that doesn't happen in most homes. So
I have places I could put it, but it's like up high, and I'm
yeah,
like, I don't know if I can like properly display it,
yeah,
like give it its due, because it's awesome to see. Like, we don't see that in comics. We don't see that in most, even in manga, right? They don't
yeah,
ever do that kind of thing either. So it's a unique thing that you've got going on in this book.
yeah.
I
It was
have
sort of
no idea if we have a Guinness World Record for this, but maybe we can submit
a
that. Uh,
Yeah, it started as something that was sort of just the lark. I had done the first 2 page, and then I thought, oh, this actually, because it's a chase scene, and I had like the ship flying, and I thought, well, I could continue on the next one. I was like, well, why don't I stick the two? So it's like a 4 pager,
yeah.
and so I did that, and then I was like, oh, well, why don't if I do another 2 pager and just if the last couple inches of the on the right of that last one connects with the couple inches of the next one. And it was just sort of an exercise to see how far I could go. After I'd done 2 pagers, I was like, well, I could just keep going. And that's the beauty of this book being my own. I don't I never pitched to anyone. I had very little. I have an editor, James, who looked at stuff, but he kind of gave me notes at the beginning, very brief, and then notes about 2 years into it. And so I'd already done this stuff, so he didn't really have a chance to say no. That's not a smart idea. And so I just went in and did it. But that's the beauty of an indie book is if you're not
Yeah.
tied to a publisher and the publisher, there's nobody saying you can't do something, then you can do it. And that's what I did. I did it.
Nobody said no, so
Exactly.
I
Yeah, my
just
wife
did
kept pushing me too. All right, are you going to add another one? You should add another one.
it. Egging you
Okay.
on. Make it longer. Longer. Go.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the action in that set of panels or pages really hits its point where it's like, okay, this makes sense to end it right here.
Yeah, yeah. Because I didn't. What I showed you was the end of the whole thing. But then there's
Right.
a page after that is sort of an aftermath thing. So you get to go and see up close what happened to the ship and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. But yeah, and that's nothing. I've been pretty cagey about what's in this book. it's part of it wasn't really what my promotional person probably should say is like, don't share anything with anybody. But at a certain point, I've been working on this for about 5 years, that there was a point in it where I was like, I don't really want anyone to know much about it. And because when it all comes out, I want it to be fresh and new. And after 5 years, if I had told you what was going on in the middle of the book, it would take a little bit of the punch out of it. So,
no spoilers beforehand, no trailers.
Yeah. And I'm really quiet about what it's actually about, because if I talk about what it's about, it kind of shows my hand a little, and I think doesn't favor the reading experience. So it's better for me not to say anything.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit before, and it kind of ties into what you're talking about with going the indie route, is you brought it to Zoop. A lot of people know crowdfunding from Kickstarter. So why Zoop for this book? And what was the draw to Zoop? Because I think there's a lot of things that Zoop does really well.
Yeah. Well, originally I was going Kickstarter. I even made a Kickstarter page for it, and I had all my tiers started to figure out the cost and pricing and all that sort of stuff. And then talking with my wife, I just happened to mention that that there was this company called Zoop that not only did the fulfillment, which was a bone of contention for me, but also they would find the printer and deal with the printer and get the books in and then fulfill it. So being Canadian, it's difficult for me to kind of deal with all the stuff that's going, across the border and that sort of thing. So it's just like, I told her about it. I was like, oh, there's these guys, and they can do all this stuff. And and she's like, okay, you're gonna go with them. and so I was pretty much gonna go with them. And then I chatted with them a couple times, and they're great guys. Eric and Jordan are great guys. So they made it easy. They're very nice, and they could help me out, and I didn't have to do any of this heavy lifting of the post stuff. So that's
but I know that's always a struggle.
Yeah, and I actually had seen a couple of had a couple big things happen. They did the what's his name, John Paul Leon book, the big winter. Oh, damn it, what's it called? Anyways, they did like an art book there.
Okay.
And like Zoop did, and there were a couple other things. Nick Patera's thing had and was pretty strong there. Well, super strong, like $200,000 or something.
I mean, that's got to be the best campaign Zoop's had.
Yeah, of the two, I think they were quite up there. And they've definitely had others that are like up in the 50s and 60s and stuff. So so they were making a name for themselves, and and then all the extra stuff that they do behind the scenes that made my life much easier. So it just had to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed Zoop does pretty good with like also promoting campaigns, which I don't see Kickstarter ever do. It's kind of, you're on your own to do the promotion. Maybe they'll give you the what is it, the campaign project we love. Yeah, maybe if you're lucky.
I don't know, it seems like they give it out to a lot of people now. I think it was a little more,
and then I see some that I'm like, why don't you love this one? This is good.
yeah it used to be a little more coveted. It seems like it gets handed out a little bit easier now, though.
But I'm wondering if is that because there's just so many campaigns on Kickstarter now that
it's pretty crazy.
They're like, we do X%, but now there's, there used to be maybe 50 campaigns, there's 150. So 3 times as many people get the project we love. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how it works. That was another thing. I just didn't want to get involved.
Yeah. Well, and I think for you haven't you don't have an established presence on Kickstarter yet either. So
No.
either way, it was a new presence on either platform. And so
Yeah.
I know people that have been doing Kickstarters for years and years. And so if they switch platforms, they might lose the people that already get the updates from their Kickstarters and tell them, hey, they launched a new campaign, but
Yeah.
that's not a thing to kind of hold you back here between platforms.
Yeah, I think that is a real concern for people that have been building a career on one platform, and that happens like Twitter. If Twitter goes down,
Oh,
that's my main way to talk to people. Or if YouTube went down,
yeah,
you get tied to these things that are massive, but if something happens or they turn out to be shit companies or whatever, and you
yeah.
don't want to support them, then you're kind of screwed because you've tied
Where do
all
I
of your
go?
stuff to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I try to spread myself around a little bit, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm on Instagram, Twitter here, and I sometimes remember to go to TikTok, but sometimes. So yeah, I try to have those other platforms to reach people and talk about the comics and everything. But you're right. If the big one goes down, like I feel like uh, technically, I guess followers wise, Instagram is my big one, but video wise, it's here. This is where the
yeah,
videos do the best, and if that went down, I don't know.
yeah.
Yes, that's it, done. I guess I'll have more time in my day. I don't know.
Well, you could just start all over, but on a different platform. So
Right. Yeah, I guess I would keep streaming, I guess, straight to Twitter or something, or
you could do Twitch.
Twitch. I do actually. We are on Twitch currently right now
Ah,
too. Nobody watches on Twitch, but we are over there. I have like
interesting.
10 followers on Twitch, and I don't think any of them actually use Twitch anymore. We've had some followers that like when my co-host is able to join, she has a friend that does Twitch and was watching here and there. So it's like we
Yeah.
get one person. One time we got raided, I think, by like 5 random people, and they spammed the chat, and I was like,
Oh no.
okay, well that was fun. But yeah, this is the way I prefer YouTube for the video format of
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of formats, because we were talking about this a little bit, this
Mhm.
is in a beautiful hardcover format.
Yeah. Yeah. 320 page oversized hardcover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the big thing. I love hardcovers. When Image puts out the like their collected editions that are in those hardcovers, they're
Mhm.
so beautifully put together that I'm like, this is honestly probably a better way to read this comic than in the individual issues. So seeing that only in that hardcover option and knowing that that's like all the quality is going to be put into that, it puts
Yeah.
confidence behind it, and and the price tag and the size of it, it's all selling points on this book.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first started this book, it wasn't supposed to be this large. I originally planned it to be about 120, 140 pages. And then as I got further into it, well, some of the
Great.
scenes got bigger, and then I started making 2-page spreads. And
And then 22-page spreads
yeah,
and
yeah, But I mean, they're all there for a reason. All the 2-page spreads. I was really conscious to make sure that nothing was in the middle that will get lost.
yeah.
And so they're all read. They can all be read on their own. You don't need to read the 22 in a row to get what's going on. So I was very conscious of the format because the
Yeah.
format was something that I was set on right from the get-go. So so it should all work out fine.
Yeah, I wanted to show some of the pages you got on here too, so people can get a taste of your art here in the book. Um, the last book that you had done, or maybe not the last, but one of the last ones you did, like independent publishing, Kill All Monsters.
Yep.
Also black and white art.
Yeah.
you prefer that style, given your inspirations from Frank Miller and, Ronin and Sin City?
Yeah, yeah. I see in black and white. I'm really bad with color. um, and for me, it feels like black and white comics gets to the essence of what's being drawn. There's no bells and whistles. There's no, none of those lines really get lost in any other way. Colors sometimes do color holds, or just, some the colors take over from the line work, that sort of thing. The book was always going to be black and white,
Yeah.
and I just think it showcases the marks I make. So
Yeah, I mean, some black and white art I look at and I'm like, I feel like something's missing. But when you're planning to do that black and white only, and you get to put those extra details and the shading and everything you got going on in this is perfect. Um, I used to really just like, I'd pick up a comic, I'd be like, it's only in black and white, and I'd put it back, and then I started reading some more black and white comics. I was like, no, this is really good. So I was like, The Walking Dead, I mean, being one of the biggest black and white comics to be out there. At first, when I heard that it was only published in black and white and it had done so well, I was like, how? This was back, many years ago now, that
yeah,
I didn't know any better. But black and white art does some things that color art can't do.
yeah, yeah. It's where my sensibilities lie. If I was looking for a book to buy at a comic store, and there were two books that I thought were equally interesting, but one was black and white, I'd buy the black and white one. It's
That's
just
fair.
it's just where my sensibilities fall. Yeah.
With we'll shift gears a little bit here, but with creating and being both the writer and the artist on this,
Mhm.
do you feel like that changes anything in your creation process? Are you still creating an outline and writing everything out first, or are you kind of blending levels
Yeah.
together and doing it kind of as the story feels like it's happening?
Yeah. This being my first real rodeo writing, um, I yeah, I started with a really really rough outline of
Mhm.
some scenes that I really wanted to draw, and I got the characters into the room and I had them talk and I wrote down all the dialogue. And so a lot of the scenes were just dialogue based. Well, actually, the entire book was written in dialogue first. But I started drawing before I had everything set in stone. So, because there were scenes that I wanted, that I saw, that I knew were going to be in it in some way, I just, being the artist first,
Yeah.
I got into drawing, and it kind of got me, it got me in a little bit of a bind after I had been drawing for about 2 years, and I had, I don't know, about 180 pages or something done. Um, I had all these scenes, but I didn't know exactly how they related to one another and how the flow and stuff. And I got really freaked out by that, and I stopped drawing, and I sat down and I brought all of the Google Docs and everything, all the stuff I'd written on
Yeah.
pages beside me, or if I'd written in the margins on the actual pages. I brought all that stuff in, and I took a year and I wrote the story. And that might seem like a no-brainer. Why didn't I just do that to begin with? But again, I had never written anything, and
Yeah.
this is just the way of that I had to go, I guess. And so I did that. I took a year off and I wrote it, and then that's when I brought in James again, and he went through it, and I was very fearful of. He's a very critical person,
Yeah.
which is great for an editor. He's very critical, and he came in with a few notes, but overall he said that this was pretty good. And when James says that something is pretty good, it's solid. It's a good read. So I incorporated his notes, and then once I decided that the script was now in a
Mhm.
solid finalized state, then I started drawing again, and it took me another about 2 years to finish the rest of the book. And of course, I had to redraw some stuff. Some stuff got cut that I had already drawn because it was either redundant or I needed to add characters or it just didn't work anymore. So, I kind of increased this 5-year tale by about a year. I probably could have had it done sooner, but I ended up with a great book, and so I had to do what I had to do to get here. So
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, I mean, your brain works from the artist side, so you wanted to see things happening, and you knew kind of what the story was going to be, but didn't have the specifics. So the brain said, create visually, and then throw those words in there, and see what happens with these characters. Almost like let them create the story.
Well, pretty much. Some of the characters, as I was saying, when they started talking to each other via dialogue, it suggested things, and I'm like, oh, I should add that or this, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it was just drawing a scene and then going, oh, I put some sort of building or something in the background. I'm like, oh, I want to use that building again, and maybe kind of think of what that building is, and then it became part of the story. Like, they go to a certain part of town, and there's that building, and he has to go to that building, and you saw it before, but you didn't really know anything. And it was drawing that building that helped me sort of world build it and figure out why is it there, and what's it for. So so being a visual person too, I just had to start drawing, I guess.
It sounds like a little bit like your own version of the Marvel method, but almost flipped a little bit, and a little bit of an outline, and then jumping into the art, and then coming back to like we'll do this, and then going back to the art, and kind of Marvel method-y, but
a little bit, yeah.
It's the Jason Copland spin on the Marvel method.
That's right, the Copland method.
The Copland method, yeah. It's funny, as I said, that I never have any Twitch watchers, but someone is actually watching on Twitch right now.
So hi, Twitch watcher.
Shout out to whoever's over on Twitch. And we got a couple people on YouTube right now watching, but
good. Well, hello to you YouTube people too.
A lot of times I feel like in recent times I've been doing interviews, a lot of people watch later. Back in like COVID times, everyone was at home, and could be live watching everything, and now everyone's like, I'll watch it later when I've got time. Hey, there's our Twitch watcher. What mutt? Welcome in. And thank you for watching over on Twitch.
Oh, that's a Twitch one. Oh yeah, it's got the little
it's got the little Twitch icon on it.
Yeah, I'm not very savvy. I'm not tech savvy, so it takes me a while to get this stuff.
But yeah, so with this project, next step is the lettering, and you've got a great letterer on here. Who's
Troy Pateri. Yeah, Troy does stuff. He does like all the Top Cow books, and he's doing stuff for DC, and he's great, and he's a nice guy too. So
even better.
Yeah.
Good that be able to have someone good and reliable on the team with you. And I know you've been talking about your editor, that you've really enjoyed having his help on everything, and that critical eye looking in. I know it's always good to have that a letterer that is looking at things too, and is like, wait, maybe this isn't going to fit. How can we make this happen? Or maybe let's throw some emphasis on here. Or like, he comes in with some ideas that enhances the project.
Yeah. Troy's top notch. So if he has any notes, we address that for sure.
Yeah. And then Tim Daniel doing the logo for Full Tilt. I always love his logos and things that he comes up with.
Yeah, and he did the cover design as well. So he took a drawing of mine and did his magic and turned it 4,000% better than it could have been if I was doing it on my own. So there's I haven't shown the back of it either, but the back of it is fantastic too. Unfortunately, I don't have it in a file form that I can.
Is this then like the inside cover on the right side of that, or is
no, that's like page like page 25 or something. The way they stuck it together, that's actually an interior page.
I gotcha. That also would look cool, like if it had you open it up and you see just like that on the exterior, kind of look cool.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen Tim's doing the interior design for it too, so I haven't bugged him enough to find out where he's at with it, but it'll look beautiful. He does all the vault stuff, so
Yeah, and
so
vault stuff is always well designed,
yeah,
like so
yeah,
good. Um, we were talking before about stretch goals. We're almost to the 40K stretch goal, which is awesome. Going to be the print there, but I'm really rooting for that 50K stretch goal. Lay flat binding. That's such a cool thing to have. Not be worried about the spine breaking or any issues with the pages.
yeah,
But
yeah. I have
we're all,
my fingers are crossed that we can get there. I don't like to be pessimistic. It feels like it's not quite doable, but man, that would be fantastic if we can get that. Yeah.
with if it hit there, would you add on like a 60K? Would there be like a dust jacket goal or something like that?
I think I haven't talked to anybody, but I have a feeling that if we hit 50, we could probably do a dust jacket because I don't. At that point, whatever.
Yeah, it's like we're doing amazing. I mean, you said before, the goal was 10K and it's at just over 39,000 right now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean nobody should continue to back it because I hit the goal. It's fine. It's going to get funded, but no, help it get to these stretch goals. Help it become an even better project.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to get want to get the book into people's hands because it's a labor of love for sure. A passion project that I've been working on for 5 years. Even before that, was thinking about it. It wasn't until about 5 years ago that I sat down and started to actually work on it. But it's something that's been in my brain for quite a while.
After publication through Zoop and everything, any plans to try to take it to a publisher, or you just kind of say if someone approaches me
Yeah,
about it?
yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. I honestly, the book was really just going to be like this large object. That was my goal. And then if anything else happens after that fact, that's awesome for sure. But
Yeah.
it hasn't been a goal of mine. I haven't been pursuing it or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I have had publishers ask. Most of the time, what they want to do is cut it up into individual things, which won't work with this book because it wasn't written in that with that format in mind. So I mean, in theory, it could be broken into thirds. It's crazily enough the way I wrote it without any planning, it could break into pretty much 100-page chunks, but
You don't want to do that.
well, no, it's just not. It's not the way it was written, and it's not
Yeah.
really the way I want people to read it. It's not buy the first one and then wait for the
Right.
not just have one big book. So
I mean, I feel like it definitely wouldn't work in individual issues because you just have one issue that's 22 pages spread out. And it's that 22-page splash.
yeah, yeah.
You open it up, you're like, oh, huh.
Wow, it was one big chase scene without any words. Actually, no, that's not true. There's words in that one, but yeah, it would be a pretty fast read.
It'd be like a nice, funny, like almost like people would pick it up. And be like, "Are you trolling me right now?" With this? But I think it's excellent when in the context of the 320 page, 20, 25.
It's 308 actual story pages.
Okay.
But it'll have other stuff inside.
Yeah. So in that 308 pages, I mean, that 22 page is going to be an awesome, like, ooh, flip words going on in it. But like, I feel like when you're reading something long, you sometimes want that like quick action sequence to break up some of the words that are just like panel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely moments where it's pretty much wordless. But then that's offset with scenes that are more dialogue heavy. but again, dialogue heavy for me is not like Chris Claremont or something. I'm not a really wordy guy.
Yeah, I've read some comics that I'm just like, there's too many words in this comic, and I can't. I can't continue.
Yeah, you won't have that problem with this one. I don't think there may be there may be a scene or two there. It's just like, oh, okay, that's they had a good conversation, but I don't think it's ever like, oh God, do I have to read this? Like,
right.
Yeah. So I think I dodged that bullet. I tried to keep it pretty peppy,
Yeah.
I mean, with the title Full Tilt, you kind of want it to be like, let's go.
Gotta have that action. Yeah.
Yeah. So
we were talking earlier about the fact that there is some feel to it that's got like that manga scale of what's going on. Do you read any manga or just strictly Western comics?
Yeah, well, since I've been working on this, I haven't had any money coming in, so I haven't bought comics in a really long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Akira is,
yeah,
that's the one. I always get this one called wrong. Tekon Kincrete.
Okay.
I've got it right here, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if it'll read backwards.
Yeah,
it's again black and white. It's awesome. Yeah. But other than that, I've read like 20th Century Boys. I've read a bunch of stuff, but I don't own it, and I generally don't use it as influence or reference or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm more seeped, I guess, in the North American market.
Yeah, I was just curious because it does have some of those action vibes, but I feel like probably some of that also comes from Sin City and some of those other sorts of influences that you've got there.
Yeah. I definitely have a bunch of influences that are in there that probably aren't super they're hidden.
Yeah. But I think that's good to not have the influences don't override your creation.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that I've managed to make whatever I've taken from Miller, managed to make it my own and not be some sort of Miller clone or ape or whatever. So.
Well, with your previous works, how is it kind of just creating this on your own versus working on projects with other people or for other companies?
Yeah, it was a lonely experience. I think no, but I'm serious.
Yeah. I never thought about that though, like with the collaborations, you back and forth, hey, check out this page.
Yeah, because generally that's what I would do, unless I was working. If I was working at a IDW or whatever, there was never really any back and forth between anybody. But with Kill All Monsters with Mike and some of the other smaller stuff that I've done, like Pop with Kurt Pierce and stuff, we definitely would have that conversation back and forth about things. But yeah, working on this book, because I wrote it and I'm drawing it, that was just me, and it got pretty lonely, and I stopped doing I stopped doing shows pretty much when I started doing this, because again, I didn't have any money coming in, and being in Canada to fly down to the States and our money's worth like 70% what yours is worth, so all that made it kind of unattainable for somebody that wasn't making any money. And then the pandemic hit, so then I didn't have to do shows, and then that just sort of carried on. So going to shows was sort of where I would continue to network and chat with old friends and have that sort of camaraderie that would kind of put me through. But being here in my studio alone for 5 years, man, what a lonely experience.
So
Yeah.
when this finishes and you get the final product, are you gonna start going back to shows and bring full tilt out there, or is it
No,
you're gonna be
no.
like, this is it? I'm never going back to another show ever again.
Yeah, we just had a one here in Vancouver last weekend, and I went down to see some friends who were tabling there, and uh, it was so it just reinforced everything that I was just like, you know what, I don't ever want to be behind the table in a big place with people
Yeah,
milling by. Like it's just
just
not
want
my
to
thing. But I will say
occasionally
that I would
go and
love
see
to
your
do
friends.
Heroes again. Heroes is a great show, and I've done it in a
Yeah,
couple years. I would definitely do Heroes again, but um, yeah,
not
other
this
than
year.
that, my show days are over.
I was really hoping to go to Heroes Con this year, and I was like planning on it. Then I was planning on that, and then I was going to go to Galaxy Con in Raleigh, North
Mhm.
Carolina, because Damien's coming from Argentina for that show, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna actually go to that one. I was like, it's too much money to go to all these shows, so
Mhm.
unfortunately, Heroes is not happening this year. But I've heard such good things about the show.
Oh, it's a fantastic show. It's the only show that I know that, of a certain size that focuses 100% on comic books. There's no media stuff.
Yeah,
There's no movies. There's no television. There's no
yeah,
video games. Um, it's about comics, and they've got like fantastic creators that table at those shows, and they're super accessible.
yeah.
Um, Everyone, whenever I went, people were super nice and they were happy to chat. Yeah, it's a great show. I love that show.
Yeah. As much as I want creators to come to Fan Expo in New Orleans, I don't think it's a good comic show. Um, I loved it because I could walk up to Simon Bisley's table and chat with him. I could walk up to Sweeney Boo's table and have her do some sketches,
Oh, very nice.
sulk
Yeah.
up there.
Look at all that stuff. Look at you.
I've been I've been getting more and more into original art.
Nice.
Um, that's my background's becoming more and more original art.
Mhm.
But like, so I appreciated it from that perspective as someone who was the comic fan at the show. Is the creators were easily accessible, but I felt bad because they didn't have a lot of traffic, and
Mhm. Yeah.
everyone was over in the celebrity autograph and picture thing, and I was like, but the comic creators that
Yeah.
created some of the movies that these people went and acted in are right here. Art Adams was there, like all these like really awesome creators were there, and not much of a line to see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Sometimes there's just tumbleweeds going down the aisles. If there's like a big panel or something that happens with some of these,
yeah,
Star Trek people or whatever, it just like sucks the people right out of and they're like, where is everyone? And it's like, oh,
yeah.
well, Star Trek Deep Space Nine thing just happened. So,
They had two of the actors from Stranger Things
hmm.
there, and so they had a panel at one point. They had the picture things, and you could tell when those were going on. Less people in the aisles, and more people over in that area. I was like,
Yeah. And that's rough for as a creator when you're sitting there, and you're kind of hoping that you're going to make some money to pay for
right,
all the bills and stuff, and then it's like there's no one around. It's like, oh man, like those are long minutes and hours
I gotta
sometimes.
I gotta show this. I'm gonna mess my camera up again, but uh, the it's hard to see, but the small white paper that's on the wall,
Oh yeah, yeah.
uh, Mark Russell, the writer,
Okay.
was doing these little like sketches and things while he was sitting at Fan Expo last year, and like nobody was coming up to his table, and I was like, he's a great writer. Why can I walk up to his table? I like second guessed if it was actually him. I was like, this isn't the Mark Russell like that, like Not All Robots. I just was reading at the time. I was like really loving it, and like I was like, is this really him? And then yeah, and like never had a line. I was like, so I bought his little sketch. It was a man with like 8 arms. He was Spider-Man. He was chasing a guy who was running from him. Just like all these little sketches that he was doing at the table because he was like
Bored.
bored waiting for
Yeah.
people to come up. Yeah. So I was
Yeah.
like, this is cool. This is a unique little thing that he was doing there.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah, so I'm like, for me, I'm like, this is the best con ever. I can walk up to the creators. But I felt bad for the creators that were there because
Yeah.
the traffic was lower. I'm like,
Yeah.
make it more comic focused. Bring in the comic people. And then Heroes Con does that well. And so like that
Yeah.
makes sense that if you went to a show, Heroes Con is perfect. Baltimore's the other one I'd say that's like
That
really good for creators.
Yeah, I actually did Baltimore. Oof, that's quite a number of years now. I did it once, and I really enjoyed it. And unfortunately, Emerald City used to be that too, until Reed Pop bought it and turned it into one of their multimedia. And it shows not. It's a shadow of what it used to be. Yeah,
that's unfortunate. So I guess shout out to all the awesome cons out there that support creators, and focus on creators and not the media and pop culture side of things.
Yeah.
Which I don't know, as I was saying, awesome cons. There is a con called Awesome Con. I don't know if they are comic focused more so or media, but
yeah,
it's funny that's the name of another con.
And so many popped up that I couldn't keep track.
Yeah, and every area has those like local ones. It's like, yeah, it's a small thing, but maybe they get one big guest, and it's like, all right. And then all the local guests that live in the area go to the same 5 cons every year. It's like I've talked to some of the local creators here in New Orleans that they're just like, yeah, I've done that con a few times already. I don't know if I want to go this time. I've met all the people that are going to show up at the con.
Yeah.
It's like, I get that.
Yeah, I stopped doing local ones too, mostly because of that too. It was just like going to your in-laws for dinner. It was sort of the same. It was the same event, same people, and it was great the first couple times, and then it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So with Full Tilt, campaign, we got 15 days left, and then there'll be later this year it'll be sent out and everything completed. Are you already planning on a next project? Are you planning on doing something by yourself again? Or are you saying I don't want to feel lonely again, and that you're going to be working with a collaborator?
Yeah, Michael May and I are going to do more Killer Monsters.
Okay.
Yeah, he's already written the next trade. It's like 127 pages.
Awesome.
So I'll do that, and then while I'm doing that, I'll be working on my next idea. I've got the seeds of something, much like what I had for Full Tilt when I was kicking it all around. So I'll need to sit down and hammer out a few things, and then it'll probably all snap into place. So I'll be doing that while I do the Kill on Monster stuff. The nice thing with Kill on Monster stuff is that Michael, I get out of Michael's way and he gets out of mine. So it's almost like I'm on my own again. But if I have any problems, or if I have, I could share stuff, I can chat with Michael. But we both stay out of each other's lanes. I do the art, he does the writing. That's about it. So yeah. But I love
you guys trust each other on that level of creation. That's like, hey, I know you write well, you draw well, do your thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't even I don't even know what's in this book. I have no idea what Michael's written. Not one stitch have I seen. And so he's going to send me that, and I'll start drawing it. So yeah,
that's good to be able to like shift gears a little bit and put on that just drawing hat and say, gotta draw this, while you can kind of start the writing gears going on another project.
Yeah, exactly. And drawing giant robots versus giant monsters is fun.
Pretty fun.
it's not like getting a work for hire gig and getting the script and going, oh, I don't want to draw any of this. You're kind of locked in, and that lack of enthusiasm shows in the work. But Mike writes fantastic stuff, and he gives me lots of wiggle room too. We were actually talking about on Michael's own podcast with another guy. We were talking about how we create monsters, and he essentially writes like a one line. I need a monster that can spit webbing, and then I design the monster from that. So it's one of those sort of things where we give each other enough room so that it's still fun. And
it's like, here's the prompt to create something hilariously fun and menacing.
Yeah, exactly. And Kill All Monsters sounds like it's pretty grim, but Michael has a light touch. He's got a little wink and a smile to people who are reading from time to time. It's not all grim and nasty like it might sound.
Yeah, let me a second throw up a little thing as I was pulling it up earlier. I saw it. Amazon had a little preview of it on here.
Yeah.
But I mean, even this cover, there's a lightness to it that's not going to be like.
Yeah, it feels very video gamey.
Right. Like, all right, monster versus mech. Let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean.
Yeah. And the other thing cool about it too is that it's a landscape format book. And I don't know if I told you, there's a few 2-page spreads in Full Tilt. So that kind of long format, I really like that format. That's something that I'm comfortable in. So getting to do Kill All Monsters is essentially like getting to do 2-page spreads over and over and over again. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Are you thinking about doing your next project in that style of drawing?
Sorta. It's what I see it in is more of a square format, but it runs over to. It's like another open book. And actually, what I'm thinking about doing is maybe it being I wouldn't say issues, but smaller chunks, so that I don't have to do like square binding, like actual binding. I can just have it stapled, which will bring down the costs and make it. And I can kind of experiment. I kind of want the next book, to be much more experimental in terms of format and how I deal with the layouts and stuff like that. So do you know Jesse Lonergan? Not know him, but do you know his work?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's actually doing a what do you call it? Hellboy miniseries. And I'm blanking on the name of Miss Trudeau or Miss. I'm horrible at remembering titles like that. But anyways, he's fantastic, and he has some amazing layouts. Like, his layouts are fantastic.
I think I found his website, and I love this
oh man,
page right here. Just you got a panda with a jetpack.
Oh yeah. Oh, he draws fantastic stuff. I actually own one of his drawings, and I have the T-shirt as well. Yeah, if you click on Hedra, the one up in the top right corner, the layouts and stuff in that book are so fantastic.
Hold on.
It's not going to go.
It opened in a new tab, and I only had one tab shared.
Yeah.
Technology.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So this is like a 5x5 grid, and then he had all of the storytelling happen with just like crazy layouts, and
I love when people do those like different types of things.
Yeah, this mind blowing. Like this is real. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like it's fantastic. It's expanding comics for sure. So I kind of like take, kind of what Jesse is shooting for, and maybe try to bring it in and do it on my own. Yeah.
I like the landscape. I haven't gotten to read this yet. I just got it.
Yeah.
But I love the landscape. J.H. Williams III's Echo Land.
Yeah.
And actually, creator I'm talking with tomorrow night. Also is doing a landscape style format on Kickstarter. Michael Ruiz Unger, he's got one, Crater City.
Oh, cool.
And it's landscape style. I'm like, yes, bring me more different style things.
Yeah,
where we
and I
can
think
just have fun.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that, like, I think crowdfunding for me, that's where I want to go. I don't really necessarily want to deal with publishers. There's a couple publishers. Vault's a fantastic publisher, but but I think that crowdfunding allows people to do the books that they want to do in the formats they want to do, and not worry. Like, if you can get that funded and you can get that into people's hands through crowdfunding, you don't have to worry about it going to a comic store or whatever, because comic stores, generally speaking, hate anything that isn't a traditional comic book because they don't have a way to display it.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do with it. And so they either don't buy it, or they buy it and they put it in a weird way, or just spine out or whatever. And it doesn't sell. And then they're like, well, it doesn't sell, so I don't buy those books. And it's like, well, it's a catch-22.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, even I was just talking to my shop owner today when I was at the shop, and like, they don't even have room to put more comics on the shelf, and more comics keep coming out through the direct market. And he's like, I don't know where to put these. I can't order all of these comics because there's nowhere to put them for people to buy them.
Yeah.
And if we can't display them, no one's going to buy them.
Exactly.
So I'm just not going to order them. And it's like, I get it. Unless somebody orders it, I totally get it.
Yeah. And the economics of a comic store, like, trying to keep that thing afloat, like, I honestly don't know how most of the time how these stores manage to do it with non-returnability and stuff. Like, I mean, I understand what how the industry's built, but there's a big gamble. Like, cost of paper goes up, or shipping costs go up, and they have no control over that.
Companies then all of a sudden distributors on them, and it's just, what does that mean for shipping costs and everything?
Yeah, I don't know.
Today, Image Comics is going with Lunar now.
Yeah, and I saw some retailers just like saying that was the worst decision ever. And I have zero. I don't know any of the behind the scenes things, but if some of these retailers are saying that it's a bad decision, then it's going to affect them somehow. And,
my one hope from all of it is that Diamond will take that opportunity to focus on the smaller publishers and give them a better spotlight.
Yeah.
And all these people that have left them will not get the spotlight. And maybe, the smaller creators will get to have their books put out there that maybe wouldn't have made it to the comic shop anyway, previously, because they were that one little company under thousands of other companies, but now, hey, there's a bigger area for them in the catalog.
Yeah. I don't know.
Hope.
Or Diamond just folds.
I mean, that's the other thing that it seems more likely, but I hope Diamond can take the opportunity to spotlight the smaller creators.
Yeah, one hopes for sure. Yeah.
And speaking of, small publishing and direct to the consumers here with Zoop, you've got 15 days left on here. We're getting close to that 40K stretch goal. Anything else that you want to add to get people over here to the campaign?
Oh man, I'm such a bad salesman. I think the one thing that I will say is that I'm about 99% sure that this is the only way that you are ever going to be able to get it in this format. Like, if it gets picked up by another publisher, which I currently have zero plans in the works, but if it got picked up, it would not be an oversized hardcover 320 page book. So it'll probably be soft cover, and it'll probably be a regular size. So this is really the only opportunity that I can foresee anyone being able to own this object.
Right.
It's going to be an art object. That's
the fun of crowdfunding, is you get to create something unique.
Yeah, and the cover, like I say, the cover by Tim Malone is worth the price of admission. So
absolutely. where can people find you and follow along with what you're doing?
I'm just Jason Copland at Jason Copland all those thingies. I'm really only on
Perfect.
Twitter. I'm really only on Twitter and Instagram, and even Instagram, I'm kind of
Sometimes there, sometimes not. I
yeah.
get it.
I am at Jason Copland at like Spotify and social counter social and like all these ones, but I'm never there. So
Yeah, I'm hoping to one day get into the new one, Blue Sky.
oh yeah,
Something like that.
I'm so far out of it. I don't even know what it is.
It's the Twitter creators, I think, creating a new platform.
Right.
They're like probably regretting selling Twitter, and now they're like, I guess we'll make something better.
Well, yeah.
Hopefully better.
For how long though? That's
Right.
the
So they sell
problem.
it again.
Yeah.
But I linked down to your Twitter, Instagram, your website, and the Zoop campaign all down there. So everyone can go click on those links if you're watching this later and check out the campaign, follow along with what Jason's got going on, and see what's coming next.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks again for joining me tonight.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Fun time talking, and thanks to our one Twitch watcher. Appreciate you showing some support over there.
Thanks for much.
And everyone who's watching this later has been hopping in and out watching live. Appreciate you guys as well.
Definitely.
Go read some awesome comics. Have a nice night.
Take it easy.